Hello.
So I think the first thing I wanted to do with session 0 is just have a sort of a view from you guys around the horror stuff. So this is kind of a setting the hard and the soft boundaries, if you want to, around where as a party we shouldn't go ever, or we should be cautious and something like that. So stuff like I don't know, descriptions of gore, phobias, religions, politics, things that you guys would be uncomfortable if, or trigger warnings, as essential. Okay, because this is a pretty dark adventure. There could be stuff like murder, kidnapping, racism, sexism, child abuse. There's a whole bunch of potentially nasty things that could happen.
I think I should be fine with everything except rape and if like gory stuff or bad stuff happening to animals, like what happened with Thingy.
The cat.
Yeah, in Leah's game.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
I'm pretty much on the same kind of page. I don't like sexual assault stuff, but other than that, I'm pretty okay.
Yeah, double that as well. But can stay clear of all the sexual horror stuff, but anything else is a. You got the green light. You can go crazy with.
I agree.
So, what is your kind of expectation? I mean, I guess we all know that it's a horror campaign. So I'm happy with that. I think there's. Okay. So if there is something that, I think that's a rule we have to just create. If there's something that you're feeling, I'm not sure where this is going to. I don't like where this is going to. Either private message me or in chat or in voice, just say, hey, can we do fade to black on that one? Or can we sort of, if it's going down a particularly badly going wrong path, say, could we please just sort of, what is the word, reframe that, redo that, rewind and push in a different direction? Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Yep.
Retcon, that's the word I'm looking for, retcon.
Yeah, I think there's a certain element, like, obviously this has got to do with vampires, and that's kind of half the reason vampires are in popular culture is because they can, they can be a range of horror. You can go from like Twilight on one side to some of the scariest shit you've ever seen on the other. So yeah, you can hit any of those marks.
Yeah, so give me a sense of expectations where, between the sort of the, actually this is just slightly edgy teens with sharp teeth to pretty bad. Where's your sort of expectation? I mean, you all know CoS of Strahd. I guess you've heard about it. I don't know if you've researched it, but
Not
where's
really.
your expectations in terms of the type of horror sitting?
I've never played horror, so actually no. I played Outlast for 10 minutes. I got too scared, but I don't really know what comes into it, so I'm kind of going in empty-headed.
Okay, so I will say that I'm not a big fan of horror movies at all. I get too scared and I don't sleep well. So I have watched the odd. I don't particularly like watching gory horror. I'm thinking the Saw and those kind of things, and the deeply psychological stuff. I guess it appeals to me at some sort of level. So not deeply special effecty. I think the think about Hitchcock's types things, where the horror is very much imagined in the brain of the viewer, rather than deeply gory things. That for me is more of my sort of comfort zone, as it makes sense. Senua's Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, is about the most scary game that I've played. Zombie games and Deep Space and those kind of things. I'm not a big fan of the jump out of the dark and get a scare kind of horror stuff. But I think that's appropriate for this game, so I'm going to sort of try my very best to pull it off. For me, it feels like a very much a sort of an atmospheric, horror-y kind of thing.
Yeah, that I get the impression that CoS of Strahd is quite a cheesy horror type of world because I think Barovia is it's meant to be just depressing and Victorian horror, as far as I understand it. That's the idea I've had in my head, but I can't imagine that's that different from the D&D we usually play. We've had pretty horrific the kinds of things that have happened in our other games have been no less horrifying than a vampire would be, but I don't know.
Yeah, for me, maybe a frame of reference a little bit closer towards, I don't know if any of you have played ever the game called Secret World Legends.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, with me, I know you. So it's there's sort of bad things and scary things happening and all those sort of things. I'm not sure it's cartoon horror. It's not Addams Family for me. Let's see where that goes to. But I think that sort of centers us towards possibly. John is pretty good at psychological horror kind of things, just sort of making us horrified with what we have done. So, or what the people around us have done. So that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think cheesy maybe wasn't the right word, but I meant more classic.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, that's fair. Okay, I get that. So not the okay. I actually see what are these teenage Dracula stuff? Those are for me pretty cheesy. The blonde girl running off screaming into the night is the next victim. That sort of thing. Yeah, not predictable.
Yeah. I think there is an element of that can work nicely in D&D though, with the horror tropes, because there is something satisfying about the murderer is coming. I saw a one shot that was it was basically all of these people it was set in a camp, and all the players were counselors, and then there was a murderer, like a Jason style murderer, and it was one of the best games I've seen. But it was so specific to that game that I feel like CoS of Strahd has got its. I mean, it's so popular. It's got to deal with most of that stuff for you. Otherwise, the whole world wouldn't love it so much.
Okay, well let's see how we experience this one. I think how do you expect the threat of actually dying? Should this be how hard must it be? High risk of dying, medium, pretty easy?
I'm keen for my character to be in mortal danger. That especially the character that I've got prepared. But I think that also adds to the horror if it's difficult. But that doesn't mean it should be unfair, if that makes sense. Like in Jinky's game, I think he just didn't know how to use online maps.
Yeah.
And so we kind of got screwed up by that. But
okay. So besides the way I'm seeing this play out is that there's a reasonable chance of dying, especially at the lower levels, I think. So on the other hand, what book was I reading? I'm reading Dune. So I think my job as a DM is going to make the encounter life-threatening, but leave an option out for you. So if you're feeling that you are trapped and there is about a TPK, it just means that you haven't seen the option out. So maybe that's my commitment to you, is that there will always be a way to survive. It might just be particularly tricky or hard to see, or a way for at least one or two of the players to survive. That makes you feel a bit more concerned and comfortable. Okay.
I will. Sorry, I don't want to keep speaking, but I will offer from a DM's perspective not to get too specific about those things, because I make every encounter deadly in my games, and very few of them actually are, because they high level. But yeah, at low level, practically anything can be deadly, and
Yep.
I think it's one of those things where a creative solution in the moment can often be the thing that gets you out of it, rather than having like a predetermined MacGuffin that one needs to use.
Yeah. So there won't be a god swooping down and rescuing you if you did stupid stuff. You will die. The way out may also not be that all the characters survive. But there will be a way out for the story to have continuity. I think that's my biggest concern. If we have a TPK, that the story will continue. So that's kind of my thinking at the moment, bearing in mind that this is the second time I'm having a go at this DMing thing. So I'm curious about how this will go. Okay. Abby, Valencias, you've been really quiet. Kate, you as well, actually.
For me. I've just been listening. Hiccups.
I've been eating ice cream. Apologies. I got distracted with the ice cream.
And I'm pretty much kind of like up for anything. I don't have any like hard limits, or I'm just kind of
Okay.
ready for the ride, you know. Be it easy or hard as hell, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, the one thing that I want to do differently this campaign, so Kate and Devin played with me in the first one, is I can't create this story on my own. So I really do rely on you guys, and this is why I've picked this group rather than the other one, to create a wonderful, horrible story, for us to remember when we're old. So that's why I'm sort of testing where you are and where you sit, because I do want to co-create a story, but I do want the story to feel mortally dangerous and exciting and scary and confusing and everything else. So that's kind of my desired outcomes. And if you feel there's something that I could do differently, should do more of, should do better, tell me at the end of the session, or tell me in private message if you want to. But that's essentially the let's go create a story. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's this group is not going to have any issues with role playing, like getting into that stuff. But I would say I don't think you need to worry too much about our expectations for the world. I don't think anyone's coming into this like. I mean, I'm obviously can only speak for myself, but I don't think anyone's coming into this going, I think this is how Ravenloft should be. And if it's not that way, I'm gonna rage quit. Like, we're all just here to.
Yeah.
It's vaguely like, oh, there's vampires. It's gonna be scary. Like, it's some kind of a horror thing. I think that's all we really need to go on.
Okay. Happy with that. Now, there's a couple of extra optional rules I actually want to introduce in the campaign, so I'm testing that with you next on. I want to bring in definitely an optional rule around fear and possibly stress. So, and part of that is there's something that's called Seeds of Fear, where you could choose to. There's a table to roll, or you can say, I have. What are the seeds of fear? So let me just go to the table and read you a couple of ideas of what that might be like. It is in the guide to Ravenloft somewhere, but I would be hard pressed to tell you where it is right now.
Drop a link for you.
Dark gifts descriptions. Dark. No, it wasn't that. There we go. Let me pop the link in the chat let me pop the link in general chat for you on. But so stuff is like I can't stand dark places. I'm terrified of animals. Sudden noises or appearances flame my nerves. So I think that is an optional thing. But I like the idea of your character saying there are some things that they are afraid of. So it goes hand in hand with two mechanics. The fear mechanic says that when there are some particularly horrible things happening. So let's say, for example, one of your seeds of fears get triggered. You're scared of swimming underwater. You have to go underwater to get to where you need to be. That seeds of fear will trigger, and you get a wisdom saving throw or something like that. And if you fail that, you're frightened for a short amount of time. So just bringing in some sort of mechanic that helps me and helps you to play a character that has that has the fears as well. So the frightened effect, there are gonna be some additional triggers over the usual item thingies that now and then I may ask you to just do a saving throw and check if you are frightened. So, for example, something that fundamentally alters your understanding of the nature of the universe could be a frightening experience. Think about think about Boswell's reaction to pain would be those kind of triggers. Relatively small game impact, so it's very much a flavor role impact. The next level up on that frightened thing would be stress, where if you had a particularly bad day, it may be that there is a stress indicator that increases. And that stress is a little bit like exhaustion, except that until you've taken a day of rest and recuperation in a quiet place, that becomes a negative modifier to everything you do. Saving throws, attack rolls, blah, blah, blah. So a stress level of 1 would be a -1 on everything, for example. Just again to bring a certain amount of fairness and transparency to how we create the sense of horror and fear and stress in your characters. So let me pause there. I've described too much detail. How do you feel about that idea?
Yep.
I like the fear idea specifically. The stress one, I think may actually cause you more stress as a DM than it will be a fun game mechanic. Because just keeping track of that it seems like a little thing, but I would caution against adding extra rules, because I think that those things are also often to help people that aren't so good at role play, or the people that are trying to you'll throw them up against something that's supposed to terrify them, and they'll just be like, okay, well, whatever, I roll to hit.
Okay.
Whereas I think this group has more of a tendency to go like, oh, you said my leg was caught in a bear trap, I'm going to limp on it for the rest of the campaign now, because we'll hurt ourselves rather than I could be wrong, but I feel like that's generally the way this group leans.
Okay. So I'm very happy with that suggestion to say because it is very role playing intensive, the campaign generally, or it can be. So create that, make it a story for it would be my general encouragement. Okay, so I'm happy with that. The fear mechanism. Let's now and then we may do a saving throw for fear or something like that. Cool. Right. So that's enough about the how to run the campaign. The rest of it's rules as normal. I think as a given, if you are familiar with the campaigns and or rules and or monsters and stuff, think about whether your character would know that, and don't metagame too much. I know that's an obvious thing, and again, I'm not too worried about this group doing that. Right. Now, I have thought about backstories and character creations. Let me just pause there quickly. Everybody on the group already, you've got your roles, your classes, and stuff sorted out. What I haven't done is had a lot of time to have chats with you around individual backstories.
Well, before we get that deep into it, I did want to ask what sort of characters, like what kind of story is it that you're wanting to tell? What kind of characters do you want for this? Because I mean, I've obviously made something kind of comical, but that I think would actually fit well in the horror story. But if you'd rather we're creating a sort of theme here, then you should let us know now.
Let me go back from the other side. The characters that have been created so far fits for me into a Band of Misfits. I'm thinking Suicide Squad a little bit. Band of Misfits. It's not the traditional holy party destroying evil, and I like that. There are personal reasons for you for wanting to go to Barovia. And okay, so that's way too vague and way too cryptic. I'm not going to use any of the module campaign hooks for those of you that may have gotten into one of those before. I've got a different way that I want to bring you into the campaign, and the backgrounds that I have seen so far and the character concepts and so forth allows me to pull you into Barovia for reasons linked to your backstory. Now, all of this stuff suggests that the backstory shouldn't be the dominant thing in the campaign, but the backstory is interesting for me. Sorry, Abby and Valencias, we played this. Kate, myself, and Dave started this campaign. I think we played 2 or 3 sessions with the DM, which didn't work for us because he wanted one of us to be a cleric and one to be a paladin. He had very particular ideas of the kind of party he wanted to accommodate. Now, I'm very much for play the character you want to play. I can tell you now, because you'll probably find that out either later today or in session, this party is not at all the traditionally well-balanced party to go and fight zombies and undead and vampires and things. But that works perfectly for me for the way I want to run the campaign. That makes sense.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings would be a lot less interesting if it was focused on all the badasses all the time, and it wasn't actually about hobbits running across Mordor, the most dangerous place ever.
Exactly.
I feel like that's where we're leaning with this party.
Yeah, it's not the traditional heroic good versus evil story. No, I'm going to say no evil alignments initially. Because that's just too much work for me around something that I think is pretty good as it stands. But I can work with a party. So you asked, are we the right party, the balance that many of the beginner groups would say, yeah, you need a cleric and a blah, blah. This group is fortunately experienced enough in both role-playing and actual D&D that I think we can make it work. We've we've done pretty well in combats where we didn't have the min-max optimal configuration of spells or characters or classes or tactics. So I think that I'm happy that play what you want to play, and we build that. And again, I think comic versus hardcore serious versus a balance of both. No horror can be sustained forever. So there needs to be something in there. And I think that's part of what I'm challenging myself is can I create something that is horrible and horrorful, not horrible, horrorful for you. Your character, if you like your characters, you're more attached to them, which of course makes it easier for me to scare you.
Yeah, but there's even something like creepy about laughter in a place that is devoid of laughter. That
Yes.
when someone cracks a joke in like the worst times ever,
Yep.
that's where it's needed. But even if it doesn't land, then it's like, oh, okay, we're really fucked.
Yeah. So my expectation from you as players is, I had a chat with Kate a little bit earlier about her character, is to pick an area that you want to develop your skills as well, which you thought this could be a stretch for me or something new or something interesting. But let's use the space to play and explore. The elephant in the room is we don't know what happens when John comes back. So it may be that we play a couple of sessions for 2 or 3 months and then it stops or it winds down or we find a different spot. But let's I'm not too obsessed about can this party as it stands right now, and I've got an idea of where Horia wants to go. Can this party beat the campaign? Yeah, absolutely. Is it going to be easy to fight hordes of zombies without a cleric of light and 5 holy paladins? I don't know. Do you have to fight the zombies is the question you have to ask. If as a party we're not particularly good at fighting zombies, how do we get around this problem? And that we're not actually optimally geared to fight undead might actually lead us to a much more interesting game than cleric says I turn undead, paladins I holy smite the shit out of them. That's all of us have played D&D long enough that the roll big dice is fantastic, but not the main reason we're in the room, I suspect.
Yeah, I feel like my character is literally just control. She just makes illusions and stuff.
So if we had more time, or if I had started preparing this 6 months ago, I think I would have had a slightly better intro. But my proposal is this to us now as players. I don't want to spend another 2 or 3 weeks getting backstories and hooks and things ready. If you're okay with telling me and the other players a little bit about your character backstory, fears, and things like that, and we then forget all of that as players and we go into characters not knowing each other's backstories or knowing it as the case may be. I think that's for me, the fastest to get to where we can actually do some playing next week. The alternative is that we sort of do anything else we want to do now here and the rest of today and the next week to get you into game next week Sunday.
I honestly kind of misunderstood what you just said.
Okay. So what I want to get from you are a little bit more about your characters' backstories and how you see them, so that I can kind of bring you into the story, as it were. I'm happy to work with you individually as players so that your backstories are secret to everybody else. Or we can have a bit of a conversation now and we get the group ready. And then as players, you say, I don't know anything about, or as characters, I have not met the other characters and I don't know the backstory stuff, so that you can role play supplies when things come to light. Does that make sense? So do you guys want to do backstory and character creation? How are you together? I'm slurring terribly. I should get some water. Do you want to do that now as a group? What else would you like to do? What else should I be doing in session 0 actually, for you guys? Goals, people?
I'd like to know, you said if we're not going to be taking one of the campaign plot hooks that will probably be starting in Barovia, that like already in the mists, then I would like to sort of. So you're saying that we'll meet there, all of the characters will meet there, or are we going, this is an entire party that's been taken there?
That's a good question.
Because I like the idea of meeting there, like you were saying. So that's where you would learn, where the characters would learn about each other. But then maybe we can, like, if anyone wants to link backstories or whatever, now they would arrive together or whatever. Or maybe they just recognize each other. I don't know.
I can say right from the start that my character and Horia's character have a bit of a linked backstory, but I'm also willing to link with others as well, because my character is a very like adventurous and wants to kind of learn and just explore, and so making connections with other people is totally her thing.
Okay. I'm happy that I can actually bring you in, because I'm quite keen on this particular intro as part of the getting the campaign going. I think we can do that. Actually, there is a way that we can do that. So before we start, Valensis, your character, Zassi and Kilox, are you actually adventuring together, or you just know each other from somewhere in the past?
I have to ask Horia, but I think it was kind of leaning towards after they met up and became friends, they kind of stuck together.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, if you're linking up with Horia, then we can. I'm happy to then just keep it solo, because I thought we were going to link something up as well, but
That's
I don't want
certainly
to
doable.
complicate it too much, especially if. Yeah, I think my character would actually be all right. He'll be quick to make friends with you, but not maybe not already connected. I feel like he'd wander in there himself and be pissed about it.
Okay. I think we can start in a 10 minutes with the campaign, or 15 minutes with just the intro stuff. Anything else? Dark backgrounds. Are they dark gifts? Are there any of you actually out of DM, out of character? I just realized why Helena had you that have played with. She actually had one of the dark gifts in the original role called Gathered Whispers. So that was how I interpreted the Gathered Whispers. Leader to spiritual being, their voices endlessly whisper, taunt, or cajole, unearthly howls. Only you can perceive the spirits unless you allow them to speak through you. So that for me was where I got the inspiration for Helena from that dark gift. So before we, I guess, get into starting the campaign, are there any of you that are interested in any of the dark gifts as something that your character has?
Can you send me a link of like the dark gifts?
Yeah, I'm completely unfamiliar with them myself.
Okay,
I've got an idea, but I don't know if it's a gift because I just kind of went in empty-headed.
Okay. Do you want to tell all of us or run it to me privately?
I don't mind saying, because it's kind of, it's a similar vibe. It's like, because like part of her backstory was like the lady who raised her could see ghosts, and when she passed, that kind of gift got given to her, and she just kind of, it's like, because I was thinking of playing with it, that's also her fear, is seeing them. So like she has to see them all the time, but she's like, every time they pop up.
And you're the Phantom Rogue. Nice. That's too good.
I thought it was the perfect kind of combo.
Okay, I like. So have a look at the dark gifts. I think Devin and myself have both posted the gifts in there. There are the high level echoing soul. There's another soul in your body. Gathered whispers, kind of like Helena. Living shadow. Your shadow does its own thing by and large.
Yeah, I think the Watchers would probably work best for you.
Watchers,
you have,
a lot like Abby's character.
You can have stray souls where ghost orbs, shadows, and ectoplasmic wisps are constantly like something is always watching you and draws ethereal spirits that take forms of creatures made of shadow stuff, usually in the shape of tiny beasts that follow you and gather in your general vicinity.
That is perfect, I think, actually.
Yeah, you can borrow their eyes. So you can gain advantage on intelligence and perception checks and can't be blinded by like seeing through the spirits.
Oh my god, that's dope.
But you also have disadvantage on deception and performance and persuasion checks made against creatures that can see them because you're scary, man.
Yeah, but I the way I think I interpret that one is that you have, on the other hand, advantage and sort of isn't intimidation. That's the only threatening charisma.
You can hide them. You can temporarily disperse or hide the watchers with some effort. Making an animal handling check, you can suppress it for an hour. So you can kind of keep them at bay, but you have to like make a deal with them.
Yeah, bribe them with cookies, the ghostly equivalent. Okay.
I think actually, reading this now, I think that might be what Lodna in Critical Role is using at the moment for her new scary character, because it seems like the same mechanics.
And she's got the little, I forgot the name of the rat. I was going to say Rat Jackson, but that's completely different rat.
She might be using that and Touch of Death. Like, oh no, maybe not. That's like more Rogue from X-Men.
Yeah. So Touch of Death, Rogue from X-Men, fantastically good description. Symbiotic being is your body's been in some very scarily way merged with another body. Damn it. Which movie had a very particularly scary equivalent of that? Anyway, I forgot. So
Color of Space that we fought in Abby's game. That's I thought it was a reference to that. I was kind of terrified.
Oh, that would be smart. If I knew that, I probably wouldn't.
Well, it was I guess it kind of was in a way, because you just morphed with a teddy bear instead of like the mother and son that happened in that story, which is cool.
Oh yeah, because the thing is, the teddy bear story is much darker because the original thing was like a child died. It's kind of like Full Metal Alchemist. The
like
dog and the child.
Pokemon it was one of those stories. Like it looks kind of cute, but my god, the story is dark behind it.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what kind of a character you're going to play in Barovia, of all places. Based on the ones we've already seen, this has got to be good.
Okay, so my proposal, Abby, if you watches does sound a little bit, in fact, quite a lot. So happy if you want to take that dark gift into your character.
Yeah, I'll go with that one.
I have a suspicion you can actually add it in D&D Beyond feat.
Oh, okay. I'll try and do that.
Because that will keep track of is there anything to roll really? What was the okay? And the downside is version checks and have disadvantage on saving throws against the scrying spell.
Gotcha. That's okay.
I've just got a really cool idea after reading one of these gifts, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to keep it secret or not.
Do you want to? You can just private chat me in Discord. Let me see if you have actually.
No, well, actually, I like the idea of that everyone has some sort of cinematic idea of what's going on. So like,
Yeah.
everyone knows it's not metagame. But I would really like to go with the Mistwalker. I know that seems like it would be. It sounds like it would be game breaking in Barovia, but it's not at all. Because you can basically, we could make it that the pocket watch that he carries is a mist talisman, which allows him to travel through the mists, which is how he's been traveling. That's how he got out of the Feywild, and he's been exploring, and then he accidentally walked into Barovia, and Strahd decided I couldn't leave anymore because the Dark Lord's will is what decides whether or not that works, and that's why it. Because I mean, I'm basically going with the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland, and that to me has the perfect connotation of being like, oh god, I'm late, I have to get out of here, I'm not supposed to, like, this, why is this thing not working? And that's the sort of panic that I want this character to have, is like he needs to get out of Barovia, but he wasn't supposed to come here. And that's, I think the Mistwalker works too perfectly for that.
I like that, and I'm going to ask that you track of your what is your con modifier? No, you don't have to tell me. So you keep track of how many days you have been in Barovia, because that exhaustion starts kicking in, I'm guessing, after a couple of weeks. The poisoned roots part of the Mist Traveler, that works well for Mistwalker.
Oh wait, I didn't read that. But yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, when you finish a long rest, the world around you in a 10-mile radius siphon eventually leach away your vitality. You can remain in the area safely for a number of weeks equal to your constitution modifier, a minimum of 1 week.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's like, okay, no, we can't sit around here for too long. It's like that impatient thing of, no, we gotta go.
Yeah, you have to get back to the Feywild because your constitution or your energy is getting sapped the longer you're away from your plane.
Yeah, I mean, a 10-mile radius in, I think on most D&D maps, if it's like 1 hex, so we should be able to move out of that radius, surely. Or how big is the world we're working?
Ooh.
Because like if the whole campaign is set in a 10-mile radius, that's probably going to be real bad. I got 6 weeks and before I die. I know that's. I haven't even looked at my con modifier. Probably not 6 weeks.
You gain 1 level of exhaustion. You leave the area. And no spoilers, but that may put a little bit of pressure on your timeline.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, is this a reasonable limitation to have? Because I think a lot of these things, like, you could customize how big that area is depending on the game space. Because if you're using an entire world, that's a very easy thing to avoid, a 10-mile radius.
Look, I think for purposes of the map, if this measurement is accurate, for purposes of this map, let's make it a 2-mile radius.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it like too easy, but if you think that that's a decent sized area.
Yeah. So by the measurement on the map, it's about 15 miles from the one side of the valley to the other, which is about right. It's a valley. So there's not a hell of a lot of overland long distance travel. Let's do 2 miles.
Okay.
Or in fact, for simplicity of admin, let's just say it's staying in the same place, the same hotel, same tent, same tavern, same inn. So it's essentially not so much a radius-driven thing. You need to keep on moving. You can't stay in the same house for long.
Yeah,
It's
I like that.
much easier to administrate for us.
Yeah, I think it will be easier just to role play into the
Yeah.
wanting to constantly move. But yeah, we'll remember the mechanic if we've been hanging out in a space for too long.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Lenses.
Can we add these things to your character sheets? I've just never seen an actual option on D&D Beyond.
Let me just check.
I'll look into it while you guys just.
Maybe the Whispers one. I think it's just the other ones I can't see on there.
So let me go into characters.
Where is it like as a feat or?
Yeah, and the feats.
Yeah, so in the manage feats thing, and I think you have to do it from your character sheet, not from the character builder.
Gotcha.
And under the block that says feats and all the rest of it, there's a little red button feet. So let me just test that. Warwick, or Devin, I'm going to test it on yours. Manage feats and.
Yeah, I'm looking through that list as well, but I'm not seeing any of the dark gifts.
I guess you gathered Whispers, just not the other ones.
I didn't even see that
one. Oh, hang on a second. Do we have the Guide to Ravenloft content enabled in the campaign?
We do.
Feats.
Oh, you might have to put on the optional features to customize your origin.
Or it could be use homebrew to home. Sorry, I'm messing with your everything.
Yeah, there's a good chance that there is, like, we might have made one for homebrew for Gathered Whispers, because that seems like the easiest way would just be to make a feat and just copy all that stuff into a feat. I can make one quickly for each of us.
I'm kind of digging.
Answer your Discord messages.
Living Shadow.
So Valencia, you're very, very quiet there. Did you say you think?
The Living Shadow.
Okay. Happy, Kate.
I kind of want to do.
You don't have to take one, but take one if you want.
I kind of want to take the symbiotic being.
Okay.
It's like, because like when she was like cured or something, a bit of that stayed, I guess, from the thing. And we can just tweak the sustained symbiosis so that it's not so OP.
Yeah, I don't know that it's particularly OP.
Okay.
Because it's once a day. It's essentially the lucky. Once a day. If you think about it, it's essentially once a day you get. And the only difference here is that you don't take whichever the two rolls are. You can add a hit dice's worth of points to your save. So if you're rolling a 2 on your save, the way I'm reading it, if you roll a 2 on your save, and your hit dice is a D8, you can add a 1D8. Doesn't mean you're going to make the save.
Yeah.
The sustained symbiosis says if you have a death saving throw, essentially your first time you die in the day, pass your death saving throw. So the symbiosis says it's really hard to kill you, right?
Okay.
Am I reading it that way?
I think so.
It's only the first time in the day that you get to do death saving throws. It's not a immediate free resurrect spell button.
Yeah.
Okay, and the agenda we can work.
I rolled a 1 on the d6, but I think let's discuss it another time. Because I've just kind of got you in the house, so I can just come and discuss it with you when you're not busy.
Okay. Right. Cool. So I like the dark gifts thing. I think that brings a good hook into the hook that I was thinking about. Right. Anything else around character creation? Things you want to discuss as a party before we start?
I think there should be a feat now. If you just put on the homebrew, there should be a feat for each of you. I'm making one for Symbiosis now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
The Living Shadow one, I'm not sure how complete that is. I didn't just make these. They were already on the D&D Beyond homebrew stuff. Okay. So if there's anything that's not there, just let me know. Maybe I can make a new one.
I just copied and pasted like the entire bit of information into my notes section. But I added the feat as well.
Yeah. I'm happy with that. I think so. Again, I'm not particularly pedantic about the rules generally, and in fact, probably should be sometimes a little bit strict on applying them. But I'm by and large going to rely on you to keep track of inventory, spell, hit points, things like that. I may now and then roll on your behalf some rolls, stuff like perception and those sort of things. If I don't want you to know if you succeed. But inventory, I think, as I sort of said in one of the games or one of the campaigns, or maybe I think maybe you, Valente, I'm assuming you have the spell components you need, and unless they're expensive or rare and hard to get and they get consumed, I'm just going to assume that somewhere in the downtime that we don't roll, that you somehow find and replenish that. Now, I am not entirely sure where you're going to baked tarts in Barovia that you can use for Tasha's hideous laughter, but I am sure there's a way that you can find out how to do that or work around that. So, yeah, I'm not going to police you. Really roll that. How many times have you done that? Unless I get slightly, wow, I didn't know you could do that sort of stuff. So
yeah, I will say I did avoid a spell that has like it consumes 100 gold piece something or other every time you cast it, and it's like those kinds of things. I agree. One should have to actually go and look for.
Yeah, I think that I'm assuming that spell has a pretty intense effect, because the material components generally balance out the spells which are pretty awesome to make it hard for low-level pieces. By the time you level 20, okay, we can do 20 of these a day without even touching the kitty.
Yeah, no, that one's a like highly bullshit chronology spell. Right. They're like, yeah, your DM's gonna hate you if you can just use this as a second level spell, so we're making it expensive.
Okay, now I'm super curious. Are you going to tell me which one it is, or should I go and find out my...
I can't remember. I'll have to... let me double check.
My favorite is 5e.
Fortune's Favor. I remember... I think I used it once as Boswell, and was like, okay, no, I don't want to spend all the pearls. Yeah, Fortune's Favor uses a white pearl worth at least 100 gold pieces, which the spell consumes, and it's a second level spell. But you impart latent luck to yourself or one willing creature you can see within range, and when they make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, it can dismiss the spell to roll an additional d20. So even if they've got advantage, they could roll a third d20 on top of that. It's just a luck dice, basically. And if it wants, it can also use it to make someone re-roll if they are being attacked. So it's like you get to rewrite time for an hour.
Well, I think that's a bit expensive at low levels, but yeah, I can see at high level make the. What is a high level wizard thing spell that you can cast as many times as you want? That particular
the signature spell. Yeah.
Signature spell. Yes, you don't want that to be the signature spell that the wizard casts as a bonus, or the sorcerer, God forbid, casts as a bonus action every round.
Although I could picture really like a wizard that just has the most elaborate like pearl necklace that is like that's just all they do is they just rewrite time with this endless like rosary bead.
Okay, so that's a good example, I think, of where a material component that's hard to get. Keep track of that for yourself again. All right.
Any magic items or anything like that, or are we starting a cook?
Yeah, I think we're starting pretty plainly. Let me know for those that need to find spell scrolls, hide them, what sort of thing. And in sort of direct messages or something like that, let me know which kind of magic items you would be curious in finding. And let's see how that goes. I'm a little bit, yeah, let's see how it goes. Low level, I was thinking about, do we start at 1? No, let's start at 3. And, but essentially, yeah, you've done some, my view of the party is that most of you have done some freelance adventuring, mercenary work, investigation work, whatever it is. So you are level 3. That means you have done a little bit of traveling. You know the things about setting up camps and keeping watch, and so you've been there, done that, ran away from the wolves in the middle of the night type stuff, but still pretty poor. Starting out, there's a reason why most of you are not in a big successful adventuring party or guild, which you can decide whether that is and share with me, share with the others as time becomes. Why were you on your own? Hang on a second. With one exception, each of you please take 1 healing potion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to kick things off.
Yes.
Take this, it will be dangerous.
Yeah, and 17 potions of restore dead. Resurrection.
Yeah, diamonds. We need diamonds.
Yeah. You each have a necklace that will resurrect you 10 times. And then it disappears. Questions, comments?
I think I'm good.
Okay, so I am going to need some sort of backstory from you at some point, ideally before next week. But there is a point by which I have to have your backstory. So yeah, let me have that type in D&D just so that what I'm going to do when we hit that. Very cryptic.
I've got my backstory kind of already written up in both the Roll20 and the D&D Beyond character sheets.
Okay, awesome. I'll have a look at that.
Yes, same. I wrote mine already.
Mind you, I didn't go into like full detail on how Zassy met Horia's character just yet. We've been discussing it, but
Okay.
on very vague details because he's been busy.
Okay. Yeah. So I think for Horia, let's assume that he's in the background somewhere here. Well, the two of you tell me if you were adventuring together, because that he can come into the story in a similar way, as will Ollie and or anybody else that wants to. We'll bring them in a similar way. This may or may not make sense later today or never. Bear with me.
I've actually, from what I understand, like this is one of the best places to, like, for DMs to introduce new characters, because basically anyone can end up there.
Yeah.
So you can literally be like, yeah, someone just randomly walks out of the mist, just falls from the sky, and it actually makes sense in world.
Yes. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to bring new players in. Indeed.
It's just someone poked the wrong tree from Stranger Things, and now they're here.
Yes. Pissed off the wrong Dark Lord.
Yeah, this was my other temptation, was to play the prequel to Levier, and like Levier as a human before he became. But I was like, I think that might be pushing it a bit.
But don't eliminate the option that it may still.
Yeah, that'll be my backup. Actually, damn, ruined it.
Well, yes.
If anyone remembers that by the time my character dies, then I probably haven't lived very long.
I was going to say later today, everybody pretend you've forgotten that thing.
Yeah, no metagaming.
Yeah, no metagaming. Okay, let me propose this. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee quickly. Let's take a 5-minute break. Unless there's anything at the end of the 5-minute break, let's come back and be in character and start.
Cool.
Awesome.
Oh boy, oh boy.
All you fearless, brave, and soon to be disillusioned adventure, get something solid to drink. We'll see you now.
If anyone else is still keen on linking backstories, this is probably a good time to discuss it. But
I could. Navarra doesn't have any friends.
to be fair,
we won't be buddies.
seems like the type to not want many friends. What I've just the picture I've seen and the mention of ghosts.
I'll discuss it when I'm back. I'll be right back.
What do you do? Yeah, if you want to be friends, like it would be like very recent though, because she's like just run out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could either set something up in the backstory, or whatever we're about to talk about in the backstory is going to be what happens in the session. So
Yeah.
like we might as well just meet in game.
Yeah, I feel like that works.
Because it's going to be the same discussion. Yeah, I don't.
So
I mean,
excited.
I'm excited for the party the way it's going to be. Like I can already picture we're going to be doing the dumbest things that have ever been done in Ravenloft, but I get the feeling it's going to work.
Man, it's gonna be fun. I'm so nervous though, because usually I'm so bad with horror, but I'm trying to be brave today. Like, oh man, I'm like Travis Willingham, sort of like nopey nope vibes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you might have to be the cool, brave one, looking at the rest of us. Although, no, that's not true. I think the gnome's going to be kicking asses for us. How do you always end up in that role, Valensis?
I was trying to go like opposite of Brew with this one. I mean, she's tiny. I mean, she's gonna end up being fast and zipping in and kicking ass, but probably not putting
Yeah,
out Brew-sized numbers.
no, okay, no one could reasonably expect that of a gnome. Like, that's maybe at like 20th level. Though I have to say it is funny to see how the sort of archetypes that we tend to fall into, like once you've played a couple of characters, especially with the same group, you start to see a few patterns, and it's like, how many of those are just our own personality traits coming out, and how many are just like the kinds of characters we like? Or maybe that's just me.
No, I feel like it's like, do you know, like, like my fiance says, like, because I have quite like switchy moods. People like, you have like so many personalities. I'm like, that's just my D&D characters. Just like, I've got a mass of them, different versions of my personality out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't like to get into it, but with actual mental illness like that, D&D is amazing. Because it's like, you know, we joke all the time, people that actually dissociate much easier, or they find it much easier to slip into the fantasy world. It like makes you better at D&D.
That's true. It's quite fun, to be fair. To be fair, one of these days, I want to try someone who's like complete opposite of me, like a bard or something. But like, the idea is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, Lex was supposed to be like an edgelord. I don't think that's where it went at all. Or maybe.
And there's still time.
I think it's always interesting to see the roles that you end up filling in the party, though, regardless of the character. It's like we'll all manage to play vastly different characters, and then, like, again, Valensis always ends up, for some reason, like the front line, regardless of what character you play. Like, Pist was right up in the face of the final boss there at the end, but I don't even know if that was like the plan for the character.
No, she was just focusing super heavily on that moonbeam and should have dropped it around sooner. Didn't do that. And of course, well, we all saw how that worked out for her.
Yeah, but that was what allowed us to like win that fight. So it always just seems to go that way. And then it's like, Abby, every single time you surprise me in combat with whenever there's a finishing move, it's like I see a new side of whatever character. Oh shit. Okay. These are not. These sound like insults for some reason.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah, it's fun to see how everyone kind of fits into the group roles. One of these days, I won't have an edgy character. One of these days. To be fair, I think Frankie was my least edgiest character. She was just fucking chaos.
It's not about the edge. It's just there's something so specific about each character. Like it's great. I can't quite put my finger on it. I think it's just good character creation. Like there's just write good characters, because even your NPCs had the same thing.
To be fair, I had so much fun when you guys went into that bar with the raccoons. At that point, I hadn't wrote anything for that part. So like, it was pure improv of me being like, what would these raccoons sound like? Oh,
that
that's
was
so fun.
exactly one of the moments I'm talking about. Was like when we walked in, I was like, okay, we're going to speak to the raccoon bartender. This is probably like you'll probably put on a silly voice for the thing, but I was not at all expecting what you threw at it. Just like, yeah, that so took me off guard. It's great.
This is hilarious. I was just I don't know what happened that day. I think I just had a lot of caffeine in my system, and I was like, "This is the place to let it out."
That is my favorite bartender out of all the D&D I've ever played, like hands down. That you go into so many taverns and you meet so many barkeeps, but none are that memorable usually. It's usually just like, oh yeah, the barkeep. But that I remember that raccoon.
Petition for all barkeeps to be sexy raccoons.
Just for every NPC to be a raccoon. I think that it's like it's just any NPC that's not what they're supposed to be, but is like feels like some kind of Terry Pratchett novel.
It's a raccoon. Right, I'm back.
Look back.
I think it's still waiting for Kate.
Yeah, I had a quick
Hi,
chat.
back. I'm Dad.
Ah,
Okay.
hello, Dad. I'm father.
Okay, I'm just going to roll 1d6 psychic damage for you, Kate.
I like the idea that it would be Darth Vader to have the ultimate dad jokes. Like, I started.
Because he's been practicing. Anticipation. I like that. What would a lawful evil dad do?
I just imagine him like. Sorry, I imagine him like choking someone out while also reading a book about like how to change nappies.
Yes.
He's doing his best.
Yes. Not right now. Okay. Anything else in terms of session 0 questions, comments? Happy that we play and we make it up. Let's go slowly today.
I mean, I might want to link backstories with someone, but there's like secrets,
Too late now.
What? No.
Yeah, I mean, we were just saying, like, if we were going to talk about linking backstories before we've actually really established our full backstories, then it's kind of just going to be whatever we do now in the session. So.
Yeah, if you discover some sort of fine by me. I think the only curiosity I had was, have you adventured before as a party? And I think we sort of know that hasn't been. We're
Yeah, I'm keen to see what the intro is that you've got planned, but I was just thinking maybe it would be a good, like, I like the mechanic that we used in Kate's campaign where to see how long we had been in the prison, like some people had been there longer than others. Maybe we're not all fresh arrivals, and like some could like roll for that somewhere, but obviously I have no idea how you're going to introduce this. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think there's time at some point in time for you to let's do the intro and let's see how it goes. Okay. Let me get my storyteller hat on. So all of you individually, in wherever you are, wherever you were, currently are, you may be between adventures, you may actually be out somewhere on a mercenary party working. You may just be taking a break or busy with life. Life happens and it's going on and you're doing what you're doing. For the past moon, yeah, give or take. So the past moon, for those of you that are deeply aware of the natural, definitely aware that it's a new moon. Who's
The music bot. Nice.
okay. I am. We'll thank you, Devin, for running it. So for the past moon, you've been suffering strange dreams of a woman with a rasping voice behind this darkened veil. So for some of you, I know that strange and scary dreams are nothing new to who you are and who you've been and where you've come from. But even for you, these dreams are particularly strange and vivid. In these dreams that you're having individually, this woman is speaking of secrets of your past, knowledge that is buried so deep that a single soul could not know. Stuff that links deeply into your psyche, into your backstories, stuff that you remember from when you were a child. So she knows these things, and in her dreams, in your dreams, she's speaking of answers to your questions. Those things that you've always been wondering. Why me? What happened? Why was this? Or things that you may be seeking. Desire you may have to restore something, find something mistaken. Desires you may have to find deep secrets, explore the world, satisfy your curiosity. She's talking about all of these things in the dreams. She's talking about the fulfillment of your fate. She speaks of inheritance, of magic. She promises both and more. She speaks in riddles. She whispers in tongues. And when you wake up in the mornings after they're vivid. They don't fade like most. You remember them. In your final dream, she speaks thusly. Seek the child, seek the pet. Seek the beautiful lady with this beautiful song and the terrible past. Seek the elf with the fast daggers. You will know them by their signs. The ears of the elf, the wisdom of the pet, the rapier of the girl, the violin of the musician. You will find them in the home of the Night Steed, behind the walls of the Dagger's Ford. Once you have found these companions, seek out the traveling man of many. His song will guide you. So this time you awake. The moon is high in the sky. It's almost been 2 weeks. It is full moon. You're waiting for the dream to fade from your mind. But instead you feel as if the visions are solidifying, clarifying. It's as if there are tendrils of mist that come out of the dark corners of your room and solidifies into a weight in your lap. When you look down, you see a single playing card resting there, face down. When you turn the playing card over, it's as if there's a vague picture that you can see. There's a symbol like all playing cards, but it's as if there is mist that is floating the face of the card. The face of the card. It's obscuring the face. You can't see what the card is. So the next morning, you packed your possessions, you prepared for the journey. After consulting a map and talking to some of your companions, wherever you may be, map, thinking about it, you realize that your destination is the Nightmare's stable in the town called Daggerford, which is coincidentally somewhere between 5 and 20 days of travel away from where you are. The road lies in front. The road lies behind you. Sorry, the road lies in front of you. Your past is behind you. The sun rises above your head. You clear your mind. You steel your will, and you let fate guide your steps. Okay, so you're traveling to Daggerford. That's typical travel. Takes you a few days. You arrive in the town, and you make your way to a place called the Nightmare Stable. The inn itself is somewhat dark, somewhat hidden, popular in the evenings with a certain kind of crowd. And over the course of 2 or 3 days, you all arrive there one after the other. You are the only people staying over in the inn. And you essentially go through your daily routine, I guess, exploring the town, having dinner, waiting for everybody to show up, dealing with the barkeep, chap named Calric, pretty sour guy. Yeah, his customer service, not great. He's sour, cynical, and yeah, that's, I think, where we sort of say at some point in time, what do you do? That's the introduction. That's how you get into the Nightmare Stable.
So we are in Faerun, on the Sword Coast in Daggerford.
Correct. Yeah, and we are assuming that most of you were roaming. Devin, I'm okay with the idea that in your, so if you want to tell us how you given what I know about your backstory.
Well, after the dreams, he would have sought out Daggerford, but he would definitely be the last one there, just because he'd be late to the party as always, and at some point would just stumble through the mist into Faerun, like somewhere on the road to Daggerford, and just wander in. But he would be last to join the group, so
Okay.
Let's move to everyone else.
So we can roll for, or someone can volunteer to say, what do the other characters see at night in the inn when the sort of after work crowd and the unemployed and broke crowd goes home, and you're sitting there around the fire. You've noticed the other inhabitants. Who wants to start with describing what do the other people see and introducing yourself?
I'll go first. So you see, she always has a hood up, but you see the white hair coming out of it and this kind of sickly grey skin. She almost looks like she's like on the verge of death, like she's very gaunt. And black pupils with just like a smoky little iris. Not black pupils, black eyes with the smoky kind of blue iris. And she's playing with this set of playing cards with some of the the drunk patrons, and there's sort of like a ghostly kind of sheen to them. Also, they kind of glow slightly with the light green aura. And she's just trying to get some money off some people while she's here.
Okay, who's next? Lances, can I maybe ask that you introduce yourself?
Kind of sitting off in one of the corners is a very tiny, light gray skinned gnome with lighter gray hair that flows down her back, and similarly gray eyes, and she's entirely focused on the drum she's playing. I wanted to get a video for an example. She's just kind of tapping away at these little spots on the drum. I don't know why I keep spelling that wrong.
It's like a marching drum or
No, it's a tongue drum. Let's see here.
it's a what?
It's called a tongue drum. Here, hold on.
I just imagine the little Yoshi sound. Ooh.
No, it's not made of actual tongues.
A steel tongue drum. Steel was an important preface. Oh, damn. That is some epically ethereal music to be taking with us on this adventure.
Okay, so Kate, you can go next. You're on mute, Kate.
At your discretion, I think my character might be the one playing the music.
You could both play.
Okay.
Well, that could be your conversation with each other around playing.
Is it like a stage kind of thing?
So you're actually performing for the patrons, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is this? You said it was this stable, but is it this like a tavern that we're in, or are we just like around a campfire kind of thing?
No, it's a tavern in the town. It's kind of where some of the less fortunate parts of the society goes. No, it's not where the rich yuppies and their trophy wives hung out. So it's also not a deep, seedy, nasty, messy place. It's like just an inn that caters to a particular clientele.
And in that case, on the stage stands a girl with she looks around like in her 20s, with long white hair, and she is playing this haunting sounding song on her violin. She's not dressed too modestly, but also not too extravagantly. It's like a balance. She's dressed well, but not super well, and she's just playing the violin up on the stage.
Roll
And-
for me a performance. Sorry.
Okay. And I guess occasionally there would be some other sounds of some other sounds that would join in, like the occasional other instrument for a short amount of time,
Okay.
but only one at a time. And performance. Okay.
Well, the patrons are enjoying it. They're not sort of spellbound or stopping their conversations, but yeah, good music. Roll for me. Let's say you're there for 3 nights performing. Roll for me a 1d10.
Okay.
So actually, it appears that they appreciate either your looks, but over the course of the 3 evenings you perform, you get about 9 gold pieces worth of money in, from coppers to a couple of silvers, for people tipping it and so forth.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Right.
So, is just quickly to get the image, is Zazie also on stage, like providing percussion for this performance? Are you guys both up there, or is?
If she
Or
was
are
allowed,
you
Zazie would be up there being more of like the backup help. Otherwise, she would be kind of sitting down off to the side of the stage, not wanting to take away from the focus.
Yeah, I mean, what performance have you seen where you've been paying attention to the drama? Let's be honest. It's like you're providing the rhythm in the back, but an integral part of any performance.
So this sounds like it's pretty ethereal music, as opposed to the usual jigs and shanties and things that the majority of the sailors and working men that would be in the audience do. But maybe it suits the people that prefer not to be seen to be boisterous and jovial. In the sort of you arrive sort of spread out over the course of a couple of days. Do you talk to each other, the three of you? Devin has said he's going to be late.
I mean, I'd like to still arrive sort of that night, but what you guys might have known each other before.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm seeing. Okay, so let's say for the sake of not everybody arrive at the same time, you arrive over the course of 2 days. So by the end of the second day, you're all there. Devin, do you want to describe your character?
Yeah, so there's outside of the tavern, as this music is playing, there's this little puff of mist, and he sort of falls out onto the dirt patch and fixes his suit, just making sure he looks okay, pushes his glasses up onto his nose, checks his pocket watch, and then goes, shit, again. And he just starts running along the path, and no one would really notice a maybe 3.5 foot, 4.5 feet with the ears, little heron-gone rabbit folk man, as he runs into the tavern, looks around, and his ears just twitching as he's following the music, and he just takes a deep breath and goes, oh, well, this is actually quite nice, and then looks around at the stage, at the people on the stage, and then realizes, the musician, the child, and then he looks and scans the room to find any elves. Do I see Navarra?
I mean, she's not trying to hide as such. She's just trying to not look so intimidating with the hood up.
Yeah, you see, and you see the elf as Navarro has been described, playing cards in the corner. Actually, I mean, I should let you roll me a play of hand. And let's see how much money you make out of the cards game. Oh my god. Okay, so that to me sounds like a 3d10 roll for me. 3d10. See,
Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
okay. So over the course of the last night and tonight, today, so you get yourself 21 pieces of gold.
Awesome.
Zassi, I'm feeling guilty for you not making some.
I just
Yeah, it's up to
She wasn't in it for the
Tara.
money.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah. Tara.
Tara. It's up to Tara to decide what she wants to do there.
What do you mean?
Okay.
Oh.
In terms of sharing the money with Zassi.
Yeah, she'll give her 4 gold. She'll keep 5 for herself. But she'll give her for around half.
Okay. So what is the party doing?
as Varric sees the elf, I imagine he'll like watch for a second to wait for her to deal and see if she looks like she might be good with knives. Like with a 26, I imagine that's what he's seeing is just like this, and like, yep, that's probably the one. So he will go and approach that table and just say, "Mind if I join you?"
She'll kind of look up, a little grin on her face, as she spots for a moment. She kind of hesitates. She looks you up and down and recognizes you with a grin. She goes, "Well, I can always stand to make more money," and she'll gesture for you to join it.
Oh, good. And you'll just see the ears. That's basically all you can see over the table, and then he just like scrambles his way up onto a seat, and just he'll put down the only 2 gold he has to his name, and ask to be dealt in.
She'll start dealing you in. She'll do like, as she's dealing out cards, I just imagine she's doing all these like little fancy dealy things. I don't play cards, so I don't know, but the fancy stuff.
Yeah, he looks quite impressed at that, and then just turns and looks over at the stage. They're pretty good. And do you know the band?
Well, it seems like 2 of them are going to be our companions soon, but I haven't had a chance to talk to them yet. What about you? Do you know them?
Well, only in dreams. Our companions. He looks kind of confused at what you're saying. I was guided here by visions of a sort, but I'm guessing you had a similar experience?
Yeah, spooky dream. I mean, what's new? But I figured, 4 strangers we meet in a tavern, something's gonna happen.
It is generally how the best of these stories start. I guess I'm going to have to brush up my Glower skills. And maybe just pick up his cards and get ready to play.
Okay. So on the bar, maybe Varric had not seen, but for the rest of you that had sort of engaged with Keldrick and ordered drinks or food from the bar or something like that, would have seen a poster that talks about a Vistani, a troupe of Vistani, so traveling entertainers, who recently arrived in town. They share stories in their encampment. They perform fortune telling. They do some jewel smithing, sell jewels and things like that. So the townsfolk don't really want them in the town because they're a little bit worried about stuff disappearing. We never know with these traveling people, these gypsies. But yeah, so you're seeing that, and sort of towards a little bit later in the evening, as things start quieting down, Uh, someone who looks a lot like the drawing on the poster, remarkable, actually, because these flyers tend to be a little bit exaggerating, walks in to the bar. And he takes a look around. He's dressed pretty colorfully. My God, I have lost his description. So we just make it up. He's got darkish hair, well-tanned, weather-tanned face from being on the road traveling. Yeah, got a beard. There's a twinkle in his eye. He looks like someone who laughs a lot, enjoys life. And he walks over to the barman and makes a couple of jokes with him. You know, the sour barman actually grins at one of the things he says to him and passes him a glass of wine. So he'll be sitting and watching the performance at one of the tables with his sort of goblet of wine, sort of quite a big goblet actually of some sort of wine. As you know, as you guys are performing, and what do you want to do? You may remember that the dream said, "Find the colorfully dressed man." I should probably, yeah, the in the dream the.
I think Tara would just meet his eyes, or just try and look him straight in the eyes for around 5 seconds.
He will meet your eyes and sort of wink at you and take a sip of his wine and continues to scan the bar, look at the people in the bar. He's clearly picked out the four of you as he's clearly looking at the four of you more intently than the rest of the patrons, whom he has probably seen regularly for the last couple of days, couple of weeks. Don't know how long he's been there.
Zassy will stop playing and kind of pack up the drum and attach it to like this strap. And stand up and approach the colorfully dressed man, recognizing the importance and the looks. And just shortly standing there next to him. Greetings. Guess we've been waiting for you. Or maybe it's the other way around.
Well, we've been waiting for each other, I guess. You would grin at her and sort of looking down at her. You seem fairly okay with the. I mean, as who you are, you get quite a lot of stares and maybe you recognize in his look the recognition of one who has traveled far and is often met with curiosity and a degree of distrust to a kindred soul. I see you. We're the same. I can see that you're far from home. You traveled. So he takes another sip of his wine and sort of nods his head sideways, kind of jerks it sideways towards the card playing table and the musician on stage and saying, you know each other? Met each other?
I've seen them, but I haven't actually introduced myself yet. I was kind of waiting to see how things went. Who would all show up.
Navarra's gonna... sorry, go ahead.
She's still on stage playing the violin, just observing. She plans to finish the set she prepared for tonight.
Roll for me another performance check. Let's see if you're distracted by not focusing fully on the performance.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah. You know that you're missing a couple of notes, but the clientele in the bar probably don't. They're not highly skilled art appreciation people. They come here to have a drink and nice to have a violin in the background.
So I think she'll finish up within like 5 minutes and pack her violin away.
Okay. So you make your way over to the small table where this colorfully dressed man and the short person with grey hair and grey skin. Would you recognize her as a gnome? I guess you would recognize of some sorts. But not quite the gnomes that you usually see around. There's something different about the skin, the hair that you see. Okay, so you make
Takes
your way
note.
over. Okay, so you sit down at the table, have some wine with him, introduce yourself. He Stanimir, and invites you essentially over the course of have a glass of wine, introduce each other, you tell each other, so you now know who everybody is. He keeps on looking at all of you relative as if he's studying you, and I guess you get the idea that he's trying to suss you out. A number of his questions are around the have you adventured, have you worked together before? It's a funny phrase that he uses. Worked together before? You've just met each other. He sort of scratches his chin thoughtfully as he thinks about this. Kate.
Tara would sort of also look like she's studying him.
Mm-hmm.
Just sort of paying attention to every word he says. Might get a bit disconcerting at some point.
It's mostly small talk type things. Roll for me a insight check.
It's a great way to start the campaign with my rolls.
Mostly small talk.
Okay.
He points to the flyer on the bar and said, please join me at our camp tonight if you wish, for an evening of telling stories. And maybe we can answer some of your questions there that you may have. Or you can have an evening of entertainment and stories. I can see that you're all very unusual people. And join me. Come and tell us stories. We'll tell you some stories. And that invitation to go to the camp. And he sort of, with that, he takes the last swig of his wine and he gets up and looks at you expectantly, as if he's waiting for you to follow him.
That sounds like a wonderful idea. Nothing quite like a Vistani campfire, is there? Hello, everyone, by the way, and he prestidigitates a little top hat into his hand just to put it on his head and take it off in greeting, and just says, "My name is Vorik. A pleasure to meet you all. very interesting group that you've gathered here, Mr. Vistani. I can't wait to see what you would like to hire us for. If that is what's happening. And he just looks up at everyone, like twitching back and forth between all of them.
He looks at you with a smile. He's like, no, it's. I can tell you about the job. It is not for me. That you will not be working for me. In fact, you will not be working for anybody. Shall we go to the camp?
That works for me.
Sounds good.
Okay, so you go to the camp. Damn it. Where is that? So you walk with him. It's not far out of town. It's a few hundred feet. Really just, it's a separation in name more than a real actual separation. There's a crackling bonfire. There's about a dozen, give or take, men and women gathered around this bonfire. They're in good spirits. There's some of them singing and dancing, some of them drinking wine from flasks and wineskins. There's sort of a barrel-topped wagon, if you think, gypsy wagon. Yeah. So the wagon with this barrel on top, little windows, doors. They parked at odd angles. Not next to each other any neatly. It's like we stop there and we park there. There's six to eight, half a dozen draft horses tied to nearby trees, grazing. The horses are wearing bright coats, bangles and tassels, and now and then one stamp a hoof gently or do a bit of a snort and bangle, like a bit of a jingling noise. And it's fantastic, joyous scene of not celebration, just people generally camping, dinner, having a good time. As you walk in, a younger human, looking very similar to Stanimir, walks up to him, wearing colorful blouse, loose skirt, headband, leather boots. She's got a belt around her waist where there's a short sword stuck in very, in within reach but out of the way. And she sort of cocks her head to the side, looks you up and down, and says, "Welcome to our camp." She introduces herself as Damia, and she's Stanimir's daughter. They invite you to come sit next to them and offer you some wine or something to drink. Do you accept any?
Navarre, I'll have some wine.
Okay.
Zassy will as well.
Tara will, but she'll also ask for a glass of water.
Okay.
And sadly, just so that she doesn't get drunk, just in case, because she doesn't trust people very easily. Okay. Just in case they're trying to get them drunk, she'll take like small sips of wine, but drink water in between.
Yeah. So they bring you a wooden mug, essentially, of water. Daniel waves over to one of the whisks, grabs it, scoops a little bit out of a barrel on the side of one of the things, sort of flushes it out, chucks it out, and brings it to you, fills up together with this sort of wooden goblet that's filled with actually a very rich, almost spicy red wine. It is fantastic. The flavor is gorgeous. And that's what you served. Sorry, the two of you. The three of you. Vorik.
Oh, Vorik will say, very clever of you, Tara. Is that your name? I don't actually know your name yet. Very clever of you, Miss Musician Lady. Yes, I will take some wine. Thank you. And he'll take it and he'll just pull from his pouch. He'll he'll plop something into the drink and then he'll stir it with an owl feather, and he'll just sit and swirl it in his hand for the next 10 minutes as he just, as he's sort of sitting tapping on it, he's going to cast an identify spell on it to make sure that, just check if there's any spells affecting it, if there's anything magic about this. He's also not too trusting of the gypsies.
Okay, now I need to do something quickly. Let me see. Identify just automatically says any magic or anything like that, right?
It will tell you. You learn whether any spells are affecting the item and what they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it. If it's a magic item also, yeah, you learn its properties if it's magic or magically imbued. But if it's not magic, then it'll tell me that it's non-magic.
Yeah, the wine and the cup themselves are not magical at all.
Okay. Cool.
Tara also. I thank you, sir. She's like waiting for you to say your name.
Yes, Vorik. And sorry, you were? I don't think I caught any of your names.
She sort of says, pleasure to meet you. There's something strange about her eyes, though. They're just a bit haunting.
Navarro just winks at you.
You will. So Stanimir's gotten a goblet of wine, which was the same wine. He's taking a sip of it, and it says, "Would you care to share a story with us? A story that can make a man laugh? We trade in stories, and it's a custom for guests to tell a story if they wish. So, any story that you wish to tell about your youth, conquest, victory, day that you want to remember. We travel the world out of curiosity, and he looks at, especially at Zassi, and we don't come across people, beings like you often. I'd love to know where you come from. What has brought you so obviously far from your...
Zassi is kind of immediately looks nervous, but then takes a deep swig of her wine.
To cover for her, Tara just sort of says, been having some strange dreams lately. Been quite interesting, really. I often find myself in, and she'll start telling about a dream she had the other night, but not one where she was talked to by this lady. A dream where, like, quite, you know, those dreams that make no sense whatsoever. Like, 1 minute you're somewhere, the next minute you're eating cake. One of those dreams. So she's just trying to make him forget about the reason why we're here.
Vorik just pipes up and says, they say the most banal thing one can really describe is their dreams. And he just, takes a sip, realizing that he's probably offended someone. But that was... he also just keeps drinking.
Well, I think, Kate, I'm going to say roll me a... So you're doing this as... telling a story, or not really? You just
Well,
are you
she's telling us,
storytelling, or just talking to him?
telling a story of sorts.
Roll me a performance check. Let's see.
Oh no! Finally,
He is enraptured by the story you're telling. You know, he finds it very amusing. He laughs as a cat and sort of slaps his knee a little bit as he's going from eating cake to doing some weird stuff. It's like, yes. Usually, when I have dreams like that, it's because I have had too much of this fantastic wine, of this wizard's wine, we call it. But he clearly enjoys it, and then he to the rest of you and tell me any stories or should I tell you a story? Zassi is looking at you because I think he noticed.
I don't have any particularly fascinating stories to share, but I very much like listening to them.
Are you all from around here, from Faerun?
Zephyr chuckles and kind of looks away from everybody. She's like, kind of. More like undead.
Well, under you. What like in the mountains, or are you one of those underdark folk? I must say, I don't like to spend too much time around here. I've heard there be dragons around here.
You were right with the second one. I originally came from the Underdark.
Ooh, very interesting. I do enjoy a bit of time underground myself. A good tunnel can get you out of many sticky situations. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off anyone's stories, but I would love to hear more about the Underdark if you would be so inclined to tell. And he's still sipping at his wine.
Okay, quick check. Did you see that roll, or is it?
Yeah, we can see that.
Ah, damn. Okay. We'll work out how to do that.
I don't know who Stanmere is, but he seems very smart.
He is listening intently to you. Yeah, when you say you come from no, he goes like, of course. So he recognizes that you're from the Underdark. It's a long journey for someone from below to up here. What made you come this far up?
quickly, can I ask if Tara also knows what down under means? Because I'm pretty sure it's not Australia.
I do like the idea that the Underdark is just actually Australia.
Terribly dangerous.
Okay.
They have that in common.
There's a terrible butchering of I come from the London under.
I mean, look,
in there
if
somewhere.
you look at the size of the spiders, it might not be that far off.
Fair enough. So, Tara, you could roll me a history check if you wanted to see if you've.
Nice.
You would know from those hints and observings a sniffed or a deep, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, or a deep no from the Underdark. You have definitely heard about the Underdark and the creatures there, and now suddenly the penny drops for you. Like, Duh. Right. Anybody else wants to tell a story? He looks at you, Vorik, and you are. I'm not even sure you're from this plane. You're most unusual creatures. Some might even mistake you for a pet.
Well, thank you very much, sir. But I'm from the
Thank you very
Feywild.
much.
If you're not familiar, I am a Heron. I've encountered your traveling merchants before. Oh, well, merchants may be the wrong word, but I'm generally wandering the mists. I like to keep moving, but you know, yes, mostly from the Feywild. Trying to get back there. Actually, I was brought here, I think, by you, maybe whoever was sending us those weird and wonderful dreams. Not quite like what you were having, though. And he just like refers back to the story. Though I'm afraid not too many stories myself. Some horrible girl wandered into my house, and I've had to relocate since. It's all quite a bit traumatic, actually. So the rest of you seem very interesting, and he's just like feels like he's been talking too much already. So he just quietly goes back to sipping his drink.
He smiles and says, welcome to my fire. I've heard of your kind. I've not had the pleasure to meet one. Navarra, you just sitting quietly and observing.
Yeah, she's kind of just sitting. She's pondering on a story, and then she'll kind of be like, "I've got quite a funny one," and she'll a little grin on her face, and like she looks kind of, her head tilts down as she looks at you guys, and it's slightly creepy, and she'll just swirl her glass around and be like, "If you want to hear it."
He nods. Of course, I love stories. What do the rest of you do? Sorry, Navarro, go ahead. He
Sorry.
encourages you. He looks at his glass, which is empty, but just beckons over to his daughter, Damia, and just gestures for a refill, and she another glass.
So
And,
Navarra, oh sorry,
sorry, Navarro, go ahead.
she will tell. I think she'll tell the story of her greatest prank that she's pulled on one of the villagers from her home, and how she managed to convince her witch grandmother lady to make it rain in their house for a month, and they had to sit around with umbrellas and stuff. And she's telling it in a much more charismatic and funny way than I am. But she'll try and she's just telling about pranks and stuff.
Yeah, I think much merriment, laughter, enjoying the story. At some point, when you completed your stories, you've had dreams. Many of you have mentioned dreams. Let me tell you a story in return. And let me see if I can do this. Mm-hmm. I just need to find this thing that I need. So he sort of fills his mouth with wine and spits it into the fire. And the fire turns sort of greenish. and there's like a dark shape in the core of the bonfire. And he intones in this deep, resonant storytelling voice. Clearly an experienced storyteller. And you can see some of the people who are sort of talking and drinking their own wine around. Pay attention and sit and listen to him. And he says, we come from an ancient land whose name is long forgotten, a land of kings. Our enemies forced us from our homes, and now we wander the lost road. So the shape in the fire becomes more clear and takes the form of a man with a spear piercing his side. He continues, one night, very similar to this one, a wounded soldier staggered into our camp and collapsed. We nursed his terrible injury and quenched his thirst for wine. He survived. When we asked him who he was, he wouldn't say. All he wanted was to return home. But we were deep in the land of his enemies. We took him as one of our own and followed him back towards his homeland. His enemies hunted him. They said he was a prince. Yet we didn't give him up. Even when their assassins fell upon us like wolves. There is, in the bonfire, you can see this dark figure, sword drawn, fighting off a host of sort of shadowy shadows. Takes another swig of his wine, holds it in his mouth for a moment, tasting, swallows it. This man of royal blood fought to protect us, and we protected him. We bore him safely to his home, and he thanked us. He said, I owe you my life. Stay as long as you wish, leave when you choose, and know that you will always be safe. So in the dancing fire, this figure vanquishes his final foe, and then he disperses in this cloud of smoke and embers, and a popping sound, and suddenly it's back to its normal color. So his face becomes this sort of somber, thoughtful mask. You have all been seeing dreams. Amongst our people, I guess, you would say, he shrugs. Amongst our people, there is a seeress who is even more powerful than is normal for our tribes. Seeress by the name of Madame Eva. She knows all. She has called you, I guess. Probably, and there he pauses, and he looks around at you, and he scratches his chin again. And he said, he's by now maybe a little bit tipsy. He said, probably not because you are the traditional party of heroes. Big swords, big egos. I'm guessing that your fates are somehow intertwined with the fate of the Dark Prince. Why she calls you, I don't know not. You have answered her summons. She has asked me if you wish to take you to where you need to go in the morning. Will you spend the evening with us? Dance, sing, have wine, and in the morning, those of you that wish to travel with us, we will take you there.
Tara answers by taking out her violin and starting to play.
Okay.
I've rolled an insight check just to see he's not up to anything naughty.
Okay, let me scroll up that.
Varric would also. And where is it exactly you'd like to actually? Where is it we're supposed to be going with you tomorrow?
You will be going to meet Madame Ava Madame Ava in Barovia. Navarra, he appears to be speaking the truth. There does not appear to be any. He appears to believe entirely what he says.
She'll start getting herself ready to stay there for the night then.
Would Varric know anything about Barovia? Is any other thing he would want to know?
Can roll me a check if you want to. You think that you may have heard of it, but a lot of these smaller kingdoms, duchessy things sound very, very similar in their names. So there's not anything particularly that you know about, that you've heard. You may have heard of traveling Vistani talking. You may have heard of maybe tales of attacks on towns where there may have been werewolves or other lycanthropy that may or may not have been linked back to Barovia, but nothing really specific on that. More than that.
He'll sort of swill his wine for a bit and go, well, not usually the place I'd like to travel to, but I suppose no one safer to do it with than the Vistani, eh? Yes. I'm in. I'll stay the night. And I'd love to meet old Madame Ava, but you'll keep us safe, won't you?
You'll be traveling with us, he nods. Yes, so if anybody can, you haven't told me your dreams, you have said that you were summoned here by a dream. That did one of you actually tell him about the details of the dream? No. Okay, sorry.
Nope.
Shit. Okay, so retcon that he doesn't know about the dream.
I think Varric did mention that he'd been brought here by a dream, but he didn't give him the details. Yeah, he assumed that it was the Vistani that had given him that dream, like a message.
No, so, like this is how Madame Ava works. She sees the fate of individuals. She sends invitations to them to where they. She sent me to come and fetch whoever shows up.
Yeah. Well, seems right for just gestures to the the caravans and all the lights and everything. Like, I mean, I would trust these people. If you've managed to survive in the mists for as long as you have, you've got to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to hear more stories, more music. This sounds great. And he just sort of puts his feet up on the log, just warms himself by the fire, and gets ready for a night of entertainment.
And so he looks at the other two. I see, Tara, you already started playing your violin. I'm assuming in sort of duet or tandem with the Vistani who are making music in the background.
Yep.
Zassy and if you need time to think about this, we depart at sunrise, just after breakfast. But for now, stay. Sorry, Nancy's.
Sassy seems hesitant, but will eventually nod. sip more of her wine.
Mhm.
I hope that my friend will get to join me at some point, but this seems like an opportunity I couldn't pass up, so I'm in.
He nods and gets some plates of food if you're hungry, more wine. The rest of the evening is just a fabulous campfire conversation, telling stories about their travels. Maybe you share travel adventures. Um, nice conversation, good food, good wine. Usually, you go to Wise Lunch a little bit, go to sleep. The next morning, wake up. They pack up camp. Clearly, practice that at this thing. This is the way of life. It's not anything special camping trip thing. They bring in the. I'm sure that they will enjoy hearing it, the novelty, the curiosity, and with a little practice and playing. If you want to play, if you want to roll it, see how well it goes or how long it takes, rather, before you find a common space.
I mean, we got violins, and this is what Avoric just pulled out. I'll post it in the chat.
I was going to say, what the hell is a glor? Glor, how do you pronounce that?
A glower. It's just a fantasy version. It's a D&D instrument,
Essentially, French horn.
basically. Yeah.
Right.
Except it has got there's a certain kind of sound that it makes, which is rather cheerful. There's another thing called a gloon, which is more mournful, but he plays the glower, which
Okay.
is specifically for these kinds of moments.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you can roll me a performance check as well. Your drumming and sounds just blend in beautifully with the sounds of violins and accordion. Laura comes in. It's a glorious evening of music and fun and good food and friends. You get to know some of the other Vistani, uh, chatting to them, maybe dancing with them. So sure about the shorter members of the party, maybe.
Oh no, Zassy's in on the dancing.
So it is a fabulous celebration of joy, friendship, storytelling, fantastic environment outside. So as adventurers, you have sometimes in rain, sometimes good camping. This is one of the camping nights that will certainly uh, stay with you in your memories for a long time. The next morning, they're packing up camp. They saddle the horses, wagons. There's sort of early morning jokes and laughter, yeah, but not the sort of exuberant laughter of a party. Just laughter of a troop of people that get along with each other well. The chatter that you find in a close knit community. As they get the wagons ready, they hitch the horses. You get in. They invite you to sit sort of on the front, on the back, on top, wherever is comfortable. You start traveling through the forest. The day is a little bit overcast, but not unusual for this part of the. And you travel. Nothing untoward happens. Nothing really interesting, specific happens, and it gets a little bit darker as the day goes on. The threat of rain gets a bit colder. It gets a bit mistier as you travel. And at some point, I think you could roll me all perception checks. So at some point during the course of the afternoon, the three of you, Navarra, Boric, Darcy, would notice that the forest has changed. The road feels different. The clouds and rain and stuff has become misty fog. It feels you draw your travel cloaks closer, hunker down a little bit, maybe subconsciously shift a bit closer to the person nearest you. And although the sound of the tassels and ornaments on the horses clanking, you've gotten used to that sound. It's as if there is a dampening sound, a more somber tone to the noise of the horses walking, plodding along, the wagons creaking. The conversations between the Vistanis more serious, not sad or somber or quiet, but more serious, quieter. It's as if it's less joking with each other and more focused on traveling. Should we stop? Yeah, pass me the water skin, things like that. And as you look around, you see that the forest has become more ominous. The mists have changed. Boric, you will realize that somewhere along the line you've shifted plane. You are no longer on the material plane. Somewhere along the back in the mists, you're in a different domain and a different plane. And about then, you see out of the mists looming up in the distance. I need to find that description. Oh, damn it. I have lost it. Apologies for that. Damn it, finding system.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so I found the description actually. So you see that the fog is closing up and around. Okay, shall we wait for you? Let me grab a glass of water quickly. Give me a minute.
Oh shit, we're in it now.
Ba-ba-ba-bum.
Yeah, I think I jumped the gun a bit with the first creepy music. This is the time for it.
I'm so ready for the scary stuff.
Yeah, a land of werewolves. I'm a rabbit. This is gonna go great.
Maybe we could disguise you as like a scary were-rabbit.
Well, that's what I mean. The Wallace and Gromit references that are going to have to come out of this at some point.
Just need some cheese and we're all set.
Exactly. That's who's gonna come after me in Barovias.
I did not see the cheese thing coming. Thank you for that, Abby.
It's gonna be Vampire Wallace and Gromit that are gonna be my greatest enemies out here. Forget Strahd.
Who needs garlic for vampires when you have Wensleydale?
It's like, it would be perfect. I can just picture Gromit going, cheese. I mean, Wallace, but like you just see these big fangs.
That'd be amazing.
Okay, we're waiting for Kate for a minute. So yes, as you're traveling, you get the sense the trees. I don't know. It feels. It's weird to describe. It feels like something is watching you. It feels like. It feels like there's something in the woods looming a little bit, but not. Maybe it's just the cold. It's the damp.
Warwick very quickly tries to make sure he's standing with people all around him. He's not standing on the side of the pack.
Could I see if I can use my eyes? Sorry, brain. Is there any ghosts? Do I sense spooky ghosts? I don't know what I'd roll. So that's what I was like,
You roll for me D100.
Okay. 38.
There may be, maybe not. There is definitely been death here, but that's for you pretty typical. I mean, there are ghosts pretty much everywhere where you go. You don't pick up if these are more malicious than lost spirits wandering around and bothering you, scary that you find in some of the more dangerous places. Okay, so you're traveling closer. The fog is sort of spilling out of the forests. Follow the ahead. If you're looking at there's this impenetrable both sides. These huge stone buttresses rising out of the. Let me put that into the handout and show it to everyone. Rising out of the woods. They're looming like grey in the fog. With huge iron gates hanging off the dew clinging to the rusted cold, sort of that frosty condensation, cold clinging to the rusty bars. There are 2 armed guardians flanking the gates, but their heads have been chopped off or lying next to them on the road. Next to the road, there's weeds. There's oppressive silence. Nothing moving, no sounds except the plodding of the horses and the clanking of their tassels and their barding and things. The wagons stop. Stanimir gets off the lead wagon, walks over to beckons the 4 of you. This is where I leave you. I cannot go further. He sort of looks darkly at one of the Vistani. We've been asked to bring you to the gate, and we have to leave you here. Will you pass through?
Tara's skeptical, so she asks him, well, I will pass through if you tell me what exactly is through.
He says, on the other side is Barovia. Not everybody who goes through these gates we can pass freely. Not everybody can pass out freely. Madam Ava can help you find your destiny, find your fates, find the solution you are seeking. And he looks at each of you sort of for a couple of seconds, as if he knows what it is. Maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't. But he's weighing you. He's I think she has a reason. She's seen something good. You should be warned that once you pass through, you may not come back. Potentially. Not you may not as in forbidden. You might not be able to come back. You might not survive to come back. This is the point where you decide, do you pursue your fate and travel back with us or further with us? Okay, so out of character, turning around and traveling back is essentially a different day. Right? But
You keep on cutting out for me.
For the rest of you as well.
Yeah, but I mean, we got most of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Varric would want to ask, and how are we supposed to find Madame Ava?
Of course. So, if you go through the gates, traveling a few miles to the west, following the road, you'll get to the town of Barovia. Or be called Barovia. Hang on, no, it's
Velaki.
Barovia. No, you'll get to the town of Barovia, and there you will find people to guide you to Sirpur, where Madame Eva is usually camped. But the town of Barovia is on your way. So continue with this path west, and once you pass the town, you will find if they are at the Tur Lake. Says he looks again darkly at one of them. Says at this point we cannot actually enter here because that young hot-headed fool over there, he points to, insulted Madame Ava, and until we have paid for the aggression, going in there is just bad for us. And he sort of chuckles a little bit nervously.
Oh, well, I mean, that's all right. I'm no stranger to traveling the mists. I'm sure Madame Ava will be able to help everyone do that just fine. And he seems quite confident, but we shouldn't keep her waiting. So, shall we?
Terrell nods and leads the way.
Vara's trying to, she's trying not to look nervous, but kind of instinctually, even though Zassi's shorter than hers, thinks she looks tougher, so she's just going to walk behind her, quite closely behind.
Okay.
He just Varric walks with his back, he turns to face the Navarra and Zazie and just goes, "Come on then, follow the white rabbit." You get the impression he makes a lot of dumb jokes like that. It's going to happen a lot, but he doesn't feel it when he says it this time for some reason.
Okay, so the rest of the party, Zazie specifically.
Yeah, Zassie's pretty quiet, but she's moving along with everyone else.
He smiles as he looks at you. He waves. Thank you, friends, for the stories, for the dancing, for the music, for last night. I look forward to the day when I pass. And with that, he would sort of turn around, get on the wagon, and laboriously try and turn the wagons around in the tight space and start traveling away. As you walk up to the gate, as you approach the gates, they kind of swing open. The hinges are screaming in sort of almost pain, like as these massive gates swing open and let you in. And once you've walked through the gates, they kind of just close behind you slowly and with a sort of soft thud, goof, kind of of sound that just echoes a little bit through the forest, and it's as if the forest pricks its ears at the sound of the gates closing. And you turn around. There's no way to open them from this side. You are in Barovia, and we're going to call it a day there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna hop off immediately because I start uni tomorrow, and for some reason we already have stuff to read, even though we haven't even been on campus yet.
So, yeah, we're already on lastminute.com.
I mean, I got it was yesterday that they were like, oh, here's some reading material that you have to read for Monday. So
okay, right.
Nice. Good luck with that.
Thank
you. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Same time, same place. Thank you for everybody for showing up. Please remember to send me backstories or something. Put them in the character sheets. And thank you for showing up. Let's make it more scary next time.
Cool. See ya. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Just gonna head off.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone. Be good.
Bye.